Welcome back to a new and special episode of the Commission Corner, one that we might call in the future the Commission Corner Nugget. A short episode about 15 minutes to dive deeper into one specific topic, and we are very happy to have our guest Lorenzo Saccardi from Smartness back in town for some AI nuggets. Welcome, Lorenzo.
Hi, thanks, Gregor and Alexander. Thanks a lot for having me back.
Alex, do you want to introduce the topics we are going to talk about with Lorenzo today?
Yeah, so how did this come together? So we already recorded one episode, and then Lorenzo said, hey, guys, I have so many great insights into how we basically at Smartness use AI, what use cases we have identified. And so we thought, hey, why not sit down together and create this Nugget episode? So I'm very curious into what Lorenzo is about to tell us. So Lorenzo, I will hand over to you, and maybe you can walk us through how you use smart AI at Smartness to help the entire organization.
Sure, thanks, Alex, and thanks, Gregor, again for having me back. Yeah, it's actually true, So we were discussing it while preparing this nugget. It's like I think that let's say before let's say going into the actual use cases that we're going, there's one important point, I guess it's worth mentioning. It's like I've been very fortunate in my professional career in the past few years because like I've worked in cultures that, let's say, embraced innovation from, let's say, top to bottom. So I've worked with very innovative driven founders. Like I'm working with Luca today, who's the founder of Smartness. But prior to that, during my experience at Scalapay, I was working with Simone, whom is similarly like craving innovation, like from when he wakes up to when he goes to sleep, if he ever goes to sleep. So it's like I've been fortunate enough to have to live in this kind of cultures that thrive for innovation, and let's say whenever there's something innovative coming out, they're the first one to get there. I'm doing this step back because like just to give some context, my let's say and eventually how I got in touch with all these AI development that we're doing right now. Like I was mentioning Scalapay because like the first approach I had was back in 2022, basically, end of 2022. We were preparing like this is a very simple example. Nowadays it seems like it's super easy, you would say, "Whoa, yeah, it's easy." It was just 3 years ago, but like to me it seems like middle age with respect to where we are now. It seems medieval, what we had back then with respect to what we had now. So we had prepared these beautiful B2B marketing content that we were wanting to push out to whomever our prospects, and we were so proud of that. We had, let's say, like 20 images that had to go into this content because there were like 60 pages, something like that. And at a point, basically at the very end, we realized that the images that we had were too similar to the brand guidelines of our main competitors. Okay, so Simone saw it and said, like, this is not going out. Okay, and we asked Simone, okay, guys, like, what do we do? And Simone said, why don't you make them with AI? Okay, and again, remember this was end of 2022, so mid 2022. Okay, I think it was not even ChatGPT free back then. Okay, because it launched in December, if I'm not going wrong. So he said, okay, he showed us a couple of tools around, and basically we ended up doing images with Midjourney. Okay, so we started generating all the images for that paper with Midjourney. Okay, and it was a time where the technology was still struggling at making hands with 5 fingers or eyes that look straight all the time. Like I saw so many strabismus people in those generated images that I'm still dreaming of them. But let's say this step back, we ultimately made it in, let's say, a couple of weeks to generate all the images for the paper for that. And we were at a time where we didn't know yet if we could use them commercially. Like there was this topic around where we didn't know even if we could use them commercially. So going back to that, like it's something that I always refer to because, like, again, it's the fortune that you have to work with this kind of very innovation-driven founders. And now I'm in a very similar situation because from the moment I got in at Smartness, basically one of the main things that Luke asked us was, push on AI, push on AI, push on AI. And we want to be as AI-driven companies as it can get. It's also in the performance evaluation, like how is this person doing with AI stuff? It's in everybody's performance evaluation. That's how focused is on that aspect. Okay, so we sit down at a point and said, okay, guys, look, we need to generate more leads. Okay, and he starts sending, rather than generating more leads, it's like generating more calls. Okay, for us, and he's starting to throw us many posts of people on LinkedIn that said like, look, I did an outbound agent and I'm generating 100,000 calls per day or per month or whatever. And he was like, guys, why can't we do that? Why can't we do that? Why can't we do that? So we sat there and we said, okay, let's have a look around. Who can help us? What can we do? And the goal there, we started with this very, let's say, simple goal. How do we make AI agents for outbound calling? Okay. And inbound calling, it's one thing. Outbound calling, it's a completely different ballgame. You can't just like cold calling. It's difficult, very difficult. Cold calling with an AI agent program, it's a mess. It's a nightmare. And especially nowadays that everybody's calling you with pre-recorded voices just to offer you whatever. So we said, okay, it's challenging. We had the fortune of, let's say, being put in contact with a great partner of ours that it's 11 Lab. That's doing the AI agents part. We started chatting with them. We liked the product a lot. We started experimenting. I go back to the fortune stuff. I work with two very skilled people in my team, whom are Raffaele and Anastasia. And back then, especially Raffaele, like dove into that like full force, and he started testing, experimenting, like doing calls. And at the very beginning, it's like it was a bit clunky, so to say, because it's like it's getting into the tune. But consider that it's so easy nowadays doing that. If I see it in retrospective, like we launched this project in end of June, basically mid-June. Okay. Nowadays, like in September, we launched 3,000 calls, outbound calls, and generated, let's say, I'm not saying 2,000 demos, but at least, 200 demos, but at least 200 get back calls with the name of the person we had to speak to and the time when to speak to this person. Okay. So it was very interesting. Consider that you have got so many great tools out there. Today, 11 Labs is definitely among one of them. That the toughest part was to get an additional phone number that we could plug into 11 Labs to call. Okay, that was the toughest part. Okay, but maybe I didn't frame this correctly, but like the entire goal of this initiative was let's get more demos, basically, for the sales team. It took some months. Again, it was a lot of tests going back and forth, and having them calling some prospects that we know that could not be so hurtful. And you learn. You got to go through a lot of recorded stuff, a lot of things go right, a lot of things go wrong. Like we developed this tool to a point where before we understood that we couldn't just let the outbound caller go out into the blue. It doesn't have yet the adaptability to just, create the conversation from scratch on his own. So what we did, we said, okay, for each potential call that we made him have, okay, let's generate him a custom intro for that customer, for that potential customer. So we scraped the web, for example, of all of our potential leads. We saw, I don't know, this hotel is on the seaside, and we generated an intro that was fitted for, seaside hotels, and that hotel in particular, so that when they pick up the phone on the other side, they know that at least they doubt whether they're speaking with an AI agent or not. Okay, and another great job that we did, I think, was to iterate with different kind of voices, tones, accents, like international people may not know it, but in Italy we have 21 regions, each one with a very peculiar accent. Okay, so we started picking some accents from very different regions, and we ultimately set up with the one that was working the most. Funny thing is, I spoke with different people using 11 Labs. They are all using the same voice, so there's a pattern there. And we iterated that, we tested that, and now we are very happy. We are scaling that. Let's say we're seeing how that goes on different market. We reached a point where I listened to a call that was 4 minutes long, and like, again, figure this out. Like, there was an AI agent that entertained a conversation with a potential prospect for 4 minutes. 4 minutes, like it's an eternity. It's an eternity. Okay. And he was telling the agent basically whatever, like up to how his daughter doing in school. I don't know. And basically, at one point, this customer made a question to the AI agent. The AI agent responded so well that he told her, like, sorry, I thought you were one of those like pre-recorded voices. And it went on, the conversation. And then at the end of the day, it wished her like good day, like have a good work day or whatever. I can't remember. So that's the extent of the thing. What we learned also in a couple of other case studies that we did, sorry, not case studies, it's actually implementations. It's that generally, if there's an edge case, you get it in the first 3 calls. Like, if there's something that you hadn't thought about, like it's not the first, or it's like this, it's not the second, it's the 3rd call, but like the first 3 to 5 calls, you get the edge cases. So basically, you need to get it out and make it go wrong, because it's going to inevitably go wrong. Okay. And you're going to pick it immediately. Like, I don't know how that happens. It's probably Murphy's Law, but like this happened to us in every sales call iteration that we did. We did later launch an agent for our customer support when customer support is not online. Okay. So even there, we realized and we created an agent that answers calls from our current customers that have questions for our customer support, and the customer support is offline. Okay. Or maybe they're busy and they get redirected to the customer support agent that we built. What we also learned there is that it's very important to have a like very ambitious goal, because the goal that we had initially with both agents was to, with the first one, directly arrange demos, okay? And with the commercial one, directly arrange demos. And with the support one, directly solve problems inside the call, okay? Directly solving the issues inside the call. We saw quite fastly that was not the case. Like, we're not there yet, okay? I've also had conversation with a guy that called me the other day, and like to confront ourselves on the experiences and whatever. And at a point I was telling him, like, we had the same goal, organizing demos, and we realized we couldn't do it. And I was about to tell him, like, I don't know if we will ever get there. Before saying that, I thought, like, did we think we could get to this level like 8 months ago? Probably not. So I said, okay, so we'll get there eventually, maybe, I don't know. But right now you got to set ambitious goal and then eventually settle onto what you can get. Okay, so this is some very important learnings that we got out of there. And other few very interesting examples that we are doing are related to marketing. Right now, what we're doing with marketing, and I'm talking about only AI agents, okay, because this is the thing that we are focusing the most on, but there's a lot of different tools that we are pushing very hard to basically embed AI in everything we do, okay? And the things that we're doing with marketing, for example, is like there's a couple of cases And the most interesting one, I guess, it's like nowadays everybody knows that inbound marketing, per the rules that it had, whenever a potential lead downloads a content, you have to call them, like, I'm not saying straight away, but more or less, in order to maximize the conversion, you know? In reality, unless you have a team that's dedicated to inbound, it's very tough. It's very tough. The person might not be there. They might be downloading the content at whatever the time, like at 7:30 in the morning, 7:30 in the night, whatever. And it's very tough. Okay. So what we said, it's like obviously not at 7:30 in the morning, but maybe 7:30 in the evening we could. It's like, why don't we prepare an agent that calls back the customers, the leads that download the content from the web, and obviously give consent to be called back. Obviously, I didn't mention that, but the privacy topic is very sensitive. And we are obviously putting a lot of attention onto that, even though like the demand is to move super fast, but we have to also be super careful with regulation and all of that. But the goal is like, can we convert that downloaded content into a demo with the agent? So like the agent goes and says like, look, I'm Alessia from Smartness. I saw that you were interested in or it's rather not I saw, because that comes a bit stalkerish, but it's like my attention got onto your, I don't know, or you start talking about the point for which they downloaded the content, like given your interest in this or that, what were you especially interested into? So there's a lot of marketing stuff going there. It's also psychological on how to frame that intro part as well. It's not easy. But being able to be there when you are relevant in the mind of the customer, of the lead, they know who you are because they just downloaded the content. So having it to be called by an AI agent, that's just go there and convert it. Okay, basically that's just it. So what the agent does is trying to generate the demo directly based on the content. So you downloaded the paper on, or the calculator on how to maximize the revenues. The agent goes and says like, look, given your interest in revenues, like another kind of content you might be interested into might be this, that. We have them on our website. By the way, we do this that way. We can help you in this way or that way. Why don't we schedule a call? And then boom, you book a demo. Another case we are developing, it's for HR. This is very interesting. And we are getting there, because it's also, again, as it is for the sales part, it's like you're working on a thin line, because at the end of the day, when you think about HR, we are now developing a very soft case for which every candidate that has question on Smartness or whatever can feel free to reach out to our bot. Okay, our agent. Okay, so they can talk to our agent, and what we are doing, we are also recording our HR manager's voice in order for her voice to be the voice of the agent, so that they get the person of Smartness talking to them, and it's Alicia's voice, and it's just her. And so that it solves some question. Okay, obviously this, sorry, I didn't mention before for marketing and HR, but they come from business needs. Okay, so marketing came to us with the business need. HR came to us with the business needs. So we are trying to solve these with this kind of thing. And we are doing that. We are exploring the AI interviewer, AI recruiter part. It's tough. I was just reading an article today from a CEO saying that, they were trying to do this AI interviewer thing, and they lost a lot of candidates because it's still fresh, it's still new. It happened to me in the past to do some AI interviews or AI-driven interviews, they are interesting, but they can put people off. So it's still a thin line. We are developing onto that. We are very attent to that, and we are monitoring the situation. We will develop something for that for sure. For sure. We are taking it step by step. And like one last final comment I would say is that just to wrap it up for our experience with AI, it's that like it's not necessarily what you have to build nowadays, but there are a lot of tools, like many tools that come with AI obviously today. So we know there's the bubble, and of course, like everybody has an AI flavor. At least if you don't have AI, you can sell. Seems like but there are many tools that do great stuff out there. So rather than building, today you can really buy for your company tools that make sense for you. Like right now, we are testing a call recorder that like we're using a very famous one. We are testing a not so famous one, which is more, let's say, flexible and AI driven. And this thing basically allows us to solve one of the greatest problems that we have, which is like salespeople don't necessarily put an input into the CRM the correct information. That's everybody's pain. I know that's everybody's pain. This came from one of the earliest days at Smartness when, let's say, one of the greatest need that we had was to generate a sort of knowledge base for the salesperson. And that's actually the knowledge base that then we built our bot upon, more or less, on top of the technical knowledge base that we have. But I remember Thomas, our CEO, asking me like we need this knowledge base, we need it as breathing air, And I said and I thought about it and I said what's the easiest place to get this one? It's a sales calls. Like we've got a gold mine where we're sitting on, okay? We were not exploiting that. So we started iterating on the concept and we came to a point where we realized that it was more difficult to instruct the salesperson to correctly input the information, because most of them won't do that. Okay. Or a good part of them won't do that because they're focused on selling. They let's say it's not information inputting, it's rather sending out the contract or whatever. And it's fair and it's normal. We said, okay, let's reverse that. Let's take the information that they get from the calls directly inside the CRM. So we are now updating the CRM through this tool with directly with the information that are exchanged inside the call. So this may seem like very simple stuff, but for us, it's a tectonic shift basically, because we know what's getting in and how's getting in. So just to say, this was just a comment to say that there are a lot of tools nowadays that do that stuff. And do interesting stuff. You just have to be very careful on how you select them. But besides that, the word is yours today.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for sharing, Lorenzo. I think it's very valuable to get some views on the quite, let's say, dangerous field of cold calling agents. And it's really cool to hear that you dared into that field and that you are already making the first success stories out of it. I think that's very much of value, and especially if anyone's listening in who is just about to launch cold calling agents or support agents utilizing your voices or pre-given voices, hit up on Lorenzo on LinkedIn, and he's very happy to share more learnings. And this is how we come to an end for today's episode and nugget of the Commission Corner. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.